What's up guys, it's me Jeremy, and today I want to talk about what makes a late game champion. Now for each champion it all comes down to two things: how your items scale and how you scale versus your opponent's items. A champion that is powerful in the late game will scale well in both categories. Ideally, you want to have your items scale exponentially upon themselves, and you want your opponent's items not to be able to shut you down. Let's take an example of each scenario. The first concept is having your items scale exponentially upon themselves. This is very clear within any 80 carries build. All of the stats of attack speed, attack damage, and critical strike all scale extremely well into the late game because they scale immensely off of each other. Not only does a Phantom Dancer give you attack speed, but that attack speed becomes more powerful because of the attack damage and critical strike chance from your Infinity Edge, and the same logic applies to the rest of the items. When your items scale exponentially off of themselves, they scale extremely well into the late game. The next concept is having your opponent's items not being able to shut you down. A prime example of this would be early game champions such as Pantheon, who are extremely powerful in the early game, but weaker in the late game, not because they scale poorly, but because once their opponents start to build some tanky items, they begin to do pretty much no damage since they're now unable to match up to their tankiness. When your opponent's becoming tanky is something that you cannot keep up with in your item build, unless you're extremely fed, that is scaling poorly in comparison to your opponent's items. Now there are also abilities that scale well into the late game too. Anything with crowd control or a steroid can be extremely useful in the late game due to the impact they can have in a team fight. Take Nidalee for example. Her lack of crowd control allows her to fall off just a bit during the late game, but not as much relative to other champions since she does scale very well with items. Supports can also be very powerful in the late game due to their crowd control, or in someone like Nunu's case, his steroid. Steroids scale exponentially with items, so they're also extremely powerful in the late game. So, by analyzing kits and item builds, you should be able to fairly easily tell whether or not a champion scales well into the late game. My name has been Jeremy, and that is it for my video. I'd love it if you could support me with a like, or join me on my North American chat room gaming Curios, which I am always in when I go online. Please subscribe for more awesome content in the future if you enjoyed this video, and I'd love it if you could follow me on Facebook or Twitter, for which I will have links in the description. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.